We'll now open the regular meeting for the City of Portola City Council for Wednesday, December 12th, 2012. And will you all please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, Leslie, roll call.
Councilmember Owens.
Here.
Councilmember Weaver.
Here.
Councilmember McBride.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem LaRue.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor for public comment. If there's anything that you guys would like to mention before we get started that is not on the agenda tonight. Yes, Curtis.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the fireman's Christmas party. I think it's, I got the minutes here of the Portola Fire Department when it was formed in 1931-35, and their first Christmas party was 1933. So they've been putting that on for a long time, and then all of a sudden things changed, and I think it's really a shame. And that's about all I want to say.
Who funds that, Kurt?
Huh?
Who funds that?
The fire department funded themselves
Okay.
until the past city manager decided that we couldn't do that anymore and changed all the rules. So
Okay, who's funding it as of last year?
they had money, I guess, from their beef feed that they had the year before last.
Is that coming out of the Firemen's Association or is it coming out of city coffers?
It was coming out of the Firemen's Association.
Okay. So,
As far as I know, I've been away from them a couple of years, but I know there's an association and I know they have money. So, I'm not sure.
Roughly what does that cost, Curtis?
Phil, I really couldn't tell you because of the way things go up, but we had a lot of fun putting it on, and we'd sack our own socks. We didn't buy the socks already sacked, and it was fun. And I think that's what
I remember it.
I think that's what the fire department's losing out on right now is there's no fun. And
yeah, the Firemen's Association, I've been talking to Travis a little bit about this and it does concern me because it has been around for so long. In the future, I have offered to help them in fundraising. Part of the problem with the Firemen's Association is right now that they're getting a little burned out. They're not getting a lot of help from the public that happened in the past. It costs a lot. It's anywhere from $500 to $700 a year to put this on. It's a tough venture. When you have a Firemen's Association in a small area like this, it's very hard to raise that kind of money just for that once a year project. I've been in close contact with Travis, our fire chief, and I'm going to do what I can to not let this go away.
I hope.
Because of what you have done in the past with your success with this.
Well, see, our beef feed, we used to make $3,000
Yeah.
that went in the coffer, and that's how we financed the Christmas party and our officers' banquet. I mean, and all kinds of things like
I'm going to give you a personal guarantee that this project is not going to go away. It will continue year after year after year. If I have to come to your house and knock on your door and have you help me hand out bicycles, that's going to happen.
Okay.
Okay. Personal guarantee, Curtis, it will not go away. We want these firefighters in my way.
Thank you. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to say that knowing the last 2 years for the beef feed, the fire department has barely, if not broke even, because we haven't had the support from the public. We haven't had the turnout for the beef feed like we had in the past. Last year, if it hadn't been for them contributing the poker or combining the poker run with Eastern Plumas, we wouldn't have made any money. So what little bit we did make barely paid for the beef feed itself. And I agree with with Kurt, the guys are getting burnt out. They feel like they're not getting the support that we need. There's been a lot of controversy over several fires that's happened in the last 2 years, and it seems like all we get is negative feedback from the public. So I know Travis isn't here, and I'm sure he would say the same thing, but I know that's part of the reason that they're getting, that they feel like they just don't, nobody appreciates them, so why should we appreciate anybody else?
Thank you.
You know, Leah, thank you for bringing that up, but negative feedback is what forced me away from railroad. And that's what is forcing me away from a lot of different things in this community. This isn't gonna go away. I'm not gonna walk away from this project, because it means a lot to me that the firefighters mean a lot to the community. So, you know, we're gonna make it happen, whether it's for BP or donations or whatever, we're gonna make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have another
Thank you, Leah.
question? That's before we move on. Isn't there anything we can do to intercede on this as a council, as a city entity?
Well, I'm sure they would take volunteers to help and donations.
We can open up a whole new can of worms on that, but, you know, the city over the years, in the 6 years that I've been here, has donated a ton of money towards railroad days, a ton of money towards concerts in the park, a ton of different things. As far as donations to the fire department for the beef feed and stuff like that, I don't have that history, I don't know that, but maybe that's something that
I was
the fire
thinking
department can
specifically
come to the
that
city and see if they can
person.
put that portion of
I
it in
didn't
the
mean the
budget. I
city,
don't know.
I didn't mean the city, I meant city council members.
Can do that.
I'm sure they
Yeah.
individually like
Yeah.
to take donations, and how much did you say it usually costs?
Either $500 to $700 easily,
$100?
yeah.
I mean, I think they'd be happily take donations and
Oh,
volunteer.
they'd love to have a donation. I'm not giving up on this project. I'm gonna make sure that this project continues.
We need
Whether it's
those.
cash out of my pocket to make it happen, or
Yeah.
we'd love to have your help. Absolutely love to have donations. So, if
Okay.
you wanna make a donation, contact Travis Chavon, our fire
Okay,
chief.
for you?
We'd love to have
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
In the past, I had heard that it was reported that because of our volunteer firefighters, we were rated like number 1 or 2 because of their response times. I don't know if that's still true, but I've heard because of it, our homeowners, or our insurance in this area is lower than it could be. We need to, this is why I agree with you guys and say we need to look at helping them. If we can help railroad days, why can't we help the firemen?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me ask you one question with volunteers. And think about this really hard. What if they didn't? Do you realize that 98% of the firefighters in this nation throughout the United States are 100% volunteer? 98% of the fire departments in this nation are volunteer firefighters. Think about it, if they didn't do it, where would you be? What would you have?
I think another thing to recognize too is they're contracting to do the work for Golden Mountain. So they're volunteering beyond just the city limits into other areas that are bringing funds into them too. So that to me is a real plus and an extra effort that we really acknowledge.
Anything that goes on over and above what the city does, the Golden Mountain funds come back to the city. They don't go to the Firemen's Association. The Firemen's Association from 1933 until now, or until the Firemen's Association, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Marshall, that they're funding this out of their pocket. They have to do fundraisers like the beef feed and the car show and the poker run and whatever. That stuff's going away. We gotta figure out a way to fund it. You wanna make a donation, come in and see us. She'll give you the contact information for Travis Chavoni, Bob Frank out at Eastern Plymouth Rural Fire Protection District. You wanna make a donation, we'd love to have that. They would love to have it. I'm not a volunteer with the fire department, but God knows, I put in many, many hours as a volunteer. We'd love to have the donations. If the donations don't come in and we can't do fundraising, some of this stuff's gonna go away. So, it's up to you folks to make it happen.
Thank you. Any other more?
I don't want to change the subject, but I'd like to. Now, I want to make a comment on the fire department here in Portola. They responded faster than anybody else out there in Delaware when they had the gas leak out there. And Eastern Fire Department was right down the bottom of the hill there. The city was there first. which is, you guys can be proud of. And another thing I'd like to bring up, I'd like to know if the city is interested in the Deliker Water Company out there joining in and getting into their water coming down from Lake Davis. And I realize you can't make no comments and things on it tonight, but I'd like to get on the agenda for next month if there's any interest in it.
Thank you, Mike.
Is that right?
Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment? All right. We'll go ahead and we'll move on to city communications. And let's go to the city council committee reports. Did anybody meet? Yeah, let's see. Any of the standing committees, finance and administration, infrastructure, okay, appointments, LAFCO?
LAFCO meets, isn't going to meet until February, so it's an extended.
Okay. And SCORE was,
Right, Integrated Waste Management Board met.
yes,
And we can just continuing to talk about the contracts, the county waste contracts. Okay, it's gonna go on and on forever. Okay.
all right. And then
Transportation Commission.
transportation.
Yeah, Susan, do you have reports from the Transportation Commission last month?
Not from the, no, but we have a meeting Monday. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're meeting next Monday for the Transportation Commission.
okay. All right. So then we'll go ahead and we'll move forward to the city manager's report.
I do have a few things. Let's see, first you, the city council will notice, we received another letter from Larry Douglas. It was put, since the agenda was posted, we got it Monday. It was put in your boxes. Again, he's threatening to sue us unless we pay him $50,000, and I'm really not planning on putting this on the agenda unless somebody thinks there's a credible threat of litigation. The City Hall will be closed Monday and Tuesday, the 24th and 25th for Christmas. We're only open a half a day on New Year's Eve, the first half of the day, and then we're closed on New Year's Day. Council members and also Michelle, listen. Susan and Steve and I have been kind of talking about scheduling, and I'm thinking about maybe if everybody could set aside Saturday, February 9th. I know that's far, far away. We may try to do kind of all-day goal setting with some training. There's a few things we've all been thinking about talking about. We haven't done a Saturday for a long time, and I kind of hate doing it, but it's a good way to not fall asleep. City Hall was designated as a place to drop off donations for the Holiday Helping Hands project, which is the community organization that replaced Project Santa. And I mean, I'm amazed at how many donations have come just to here, and I know there's other places to drop them off, but people have just been coming in here right and left, so I think that's great. And sometime in January, we're probably going to have to talk about some sewer main issues under Highway 70. So that's just a little heads up. The surplus fire vehicles, the Eastern Plymouth Rural Fire Protection District Board of Directors did vote to take them, so we're going to, just this week, but we're going to do the release, and so they will go away.
What do you think that they're going to be ready for me to pick them?
Tomorrow? Steve says he has a sample.
Maybe in the afternoon. Okay.
Tomorrow afternoon.
So like if I can bring them Friday afternoon,
That'd be fine.
1, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'll get that delivered, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
November 24th was the Saturday after Thanksgiving was Intermountain Disposal's free disposal day for city residents. 68 residents participated. I tried to get a total cubic yard figure, but I did not get that. And then, you know, the Utility Assistance Fund that we've set up, there is no more money in that now. So we haven't got any new donations. I think that's it.
Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to the consent calendar. And it's recommended that the consent calendar items be acted on simultaneously unless a council member requests separate discussion and/or action.
And I would just like to comment, there's a new claims resolution in front of all of you. There was a mistake $1,800 was taken off. There was a check that was a duplicate on here. And so it's really $1,800 less than what's on here.
That's even better.
I'll move approval with the change in the,
Second.
All right. So I hear a first and a second and a third, and all those in favor?
aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Just because you got your new hip in there, now you're really showing off, aren't you? Good girl.
It's Steve's glasses. That's
Is that what it is?
It's his glasses, yeah. We're going to move to election results.
As we all know, there was an election on November 6th. And yesterday, Plymouth County certified the election results, but I knew it was on their agenda. And I did get those certified results today from the county clerk. So you have resolution number 2150 has been prepared to declare the results of the election. The one thing that I should comment on is Christine Pearson was a candidate for city treasurer, and the only one when she was nominated and ran, she was a qualified candidate for the seat. Since that time, she has moved out of the city limits and is no longer qualified to fill the seat of city treasurer, so she is not, although she did win the election, she was elected, she cannot serve. So she's not here, she will not be standing.
Okay.
And we do have an agenda item later. We're going to talk about vacancies,
Okay.
but at this point, that might be something. So upon adoption of that resolution, then we'll work on the reorganization.
Okay.
Yeah, I move that we adopt that resolution.
Second.
Look at a second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
So first, Mayor, would you like to, you have a plaque? Okay.
Okay, so we're going to honor the outgoing member of the city council. We are. Yes,
That's me.
and that's you. Unless if you want
You can come, you want to come up, so we probably need a photo op.
Okay.
With the mayor.
Oh, with the mayor too? Okay.
Yeah,
Walk with me, Bill.
I'd be pleased to.
Okay. The deeds are on.
She didn't even wait for me.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah. Been here a long time.
Born a long time ago.
Councilmember Weaver has been on the city council since December of 2000. And we're going to miss you, and like I said at the last meeting, I sure hope you come and contribute because you have a lot of history and a lot of knowledge. So I still hope you come to meetings.
Well, I'll do my best. Eat your heart out. Did you get it?
Wait, get in. There you go.
Wait. It's kind of heavy.
One, two.
Yes. Thank you. And now, I'm going to need John and Phil, because we're going to John. That's very good. I did make it big. Okay. So the new members of the city council, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
and the
and the
Constitution
Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. And I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. That I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
I second that.
Thanks, Kenny.
Okay, that's right now. Okay, that's how we, so Leslie, we're gonna do the roll call.
Councilmember Olds.
Here.
Councilmember Bolt.
Here.
Councilmember McBride. Mayor Pro Tem LaRue.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here.
We have just reorganized the city council.
Now we're gonna reorganize the city
We're
council.
done.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move to order of business. Number A, selection of the mayor and mayor pro tem. Consider nominations and make appointments for the mayor and mayor pro tem position. Discussion and possible action.
I'd like to nominate John to be mayor.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Bill Wolf for mayor pro tem.
I motion, or I second. Second, okay. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right. So Mayor, would you like to take your seat? Okay. Congratulations, Bill. L'entrée? Okay. I'm gonna move all the names around. And you're so good at it. So good at it, Vanna. Come on, I will take my water.
Yeah, they do such a lot. I was.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Sit.
Maybe the mayor pro tem. Let's just sit there.
Got it. Item B on the agenda is a quarterly finance update and budget amendments. Receive a quarterly finance report, discuss and consider consolidation of the gas tax funds, and consider approval of 2011-2012 reconciling budget amendments. Discussion and possible action. Susan, I guess this is for you.
That is me, and I apologize for not being here last month when I had this on the agenda, but our rollover accident was a little much fun.
And we did move this up to the front, not to the end.
Yeah.
Right. Gotta be first.
We're glad you're here.
Glad you're here and help you.
Let me tell you, we're very grateful to be alive after that accident. It's a little crazy. This is actually a little more than a quarterly report because this does go through October. So instead of looking at 25% of the year, we're actually looking at a little over 33. I'd like to go over these in the order that I had them on the agenda, which is the temporary employee tracking first. You'll remember that during last year's budget, the council decided not to replace the position that had been held by Travis, Public Works position, and instead to allow staff to use temporary employees not to exceed $30,000. So as we go along, I'm tracking all those, keeping track of where we are, and this is the temporary tracking. Todd has used quite a bit of the $30,000, mostly on streets. So from July through the end of October, he actually used $17,591 of that temporary budget on streets, 1,848 on parks. Now, those are the unbudgeted. We do have some budgeted temporaries. We have snow removal, we have water and sewer. At this time, we did not have any snow removal temporaries, so that budget is still, we still have 18,000 in there. Water and sewer, he used about half of the water and not too much of the sewer. So as we go along, we track this, see where he is on the $30,000. I'll be doing the second meeting in January. I'll be doing another update that'll be the 6-month update. And we'll see how the temporary budget balance looks at that time and whether we need to review whether the 30,000 was realistic or you know, as you know, there's a lot of things we really can't control, like snow. We'll have to see what happens. And I'm sure everybody appreciates the fact that Todd has had people out working on the streets because that's always an important issue. So that was just the information on the temporary. The next one is the spreadsheet that, the format that I always give you. Just a couple of highlights here, and then if you have any questions, you know, feel free to ask me. I always tell people don't panic early in the year where it only shows we have 13% of revenue because we don't get our property taxes until January. So that's a big part of what we get, and that isn't in here yet. Personnel is exactly where we think it would be, right at 35%. Insurance, the estimates from SCORE were a little low in our budgeting, so we're a little over on the insurance budget, but it is paid in full. We probably won't do any budget amendments on that as long as we can keep some of the other items under budget in those same departments. In the other expenses in the general fund, we have paid LAFCO their fee in full. The sheriff's contract, half of that's already paid. So while we're only, you know, while we're at 4 months, some of these things are paid in full. The other thing that's showing up under the other right now that's making it look fairly high is the $35,000 in grant expenditures on the disaster recovery, but that's a reimbursement item as well. So nothing that I think we need to be too concerned about there. So overall expenses in that first 4 months, 37%, revenue at 13%. The gas tax funds, not too much really there to look at, as we don't do the transfers until the year end. So while snow and streets at the bottom have a negative, the $32,825.60 in streets and $33,521 in snow, those, if it ended up the whole year that way, that money would be covered out of the general fund. That's what we do. I'll go ahead and, if you don't mind, and talk about the consolidation of the gas tax funds. We had a gas tax audit that I mentioned to you and had never had one the whole time I've been here. A gentleman named Dan Fennell came up from the state controller's office and audited all our records for the gas tax funds, and everything was clean, everything was fine. But in our conversation, he said that and I had always been told that we needed to keep each one of these separate. And he said, no, it's okay to combine some of them. Now, we can't combine snow removal because we get paid back half of everything over $5,000 in snow removal, so we can't combine that one. But we can combine the rest of these, which is going to make life a whole lot easier for Todd.
Yes.
And Becky. So I have wanted to come to you and seek approval for the combination of 203, I don't have 203 on here, 205, 206, 207, and 209. And then we'll just have one column now for those gas tax, and then we'll have one for the snow removal. It just is really going to simplify a lot of things, and I think for for us and for your view of what's going on with the money that we do get, the small amount of money we do
Make
get for
that
streets.
spreadsheet even a little smaller.
Yeah.
We're always trying to squish it. That'll help.
So that is something that I'm seeking approval on tonight. We can either wait till the end of my report, or if you'd like to go ahead and take on that issue, that would be good.
Anybody check? Need a motion for that?
I motion that we combine the gas tax.
Second.
Okay, regularly moved and seconded, we combine these three gas taxes. Favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Okay, great. Big journal entry. Let's see, so on the second page, we go over to the 215 economic development, and at the moment, there's not a lot of activity in there. Water, sewer, and solid waste. Once again, personnel is pretty much where we expect it to be. We're a little high in postage, but I did check into that. And they have purchased quite a bit of additional postage, so I think we're okay for a while there. And there was something about some fees at the post office, so they went ahead and purchased additional postage. Insurance is over a little bit, but same thing, it's, scores understated their budget, and so we understated ours a little bit. Nothing else really, earth-shattering here. I think we're starting to, when we get to the balance sheet, I think we're starting to see a little bit of light. It's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel in water, a little more light at the end of the tunnel in the sewer funds. So it didn't really have anything. This is pretty much where I would expect this to be this time of year. And if anyone has any specific questions on the spreadsheets or the backup on this, if not, we'll go on to the next thing. So the next report was the cash balances per fund. And I got a typo on the top there. I've kind of expanded this. What I've always done in the past is just show the current. And I thought it was kind of important to show the cash trends over these reports. So if you look at that report now, the far right-hand column was last March, then the middle column is June 30th, and then the column now for October 31st. And the general...
Which paper?
Oh, I'm sorry, this is the cash balances report.
It's
Right behind the other.
Here you go. Michelle got it.
Yeah, you should.
Oh, here, okay.
Sorry.
Susan, on grant expenditures, those are reimbursable, aren't they?
I'm sorry, on which ones?
Grant expenditures?
Yes, the grant expenditures will be reimbursed.
35,000.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so are we all on the same one now? The cash, okay.
Yes.
The general fund, as of October 31st, had around 2.5 million. Of that, we would have to cover the $154,000 negative that you see in 207 and 209, the $33,000 negative in 208, and the $178,000 in STIP projects, if we didn't get any more money in those things. The STIP should be reimbursed. There's normally a little bit when a project closes. There's normally a small amount that we have to cover out of the general fund. We keep all the expenses separated, like the A15 in here, but sometimes when we first start a project, there's engineering that isn't part that Caltrans will not reimburse us for, the state or the feds, depending on who the project is, won't reimburse us for. But we really don't do anything about that until the very end of the project, and we see, because sometimes they will pay a little additional planning, programming, and monitoring, a little bit additional engineering. So when this project is, completely off the books, we'll go back and see if there's anything else there. We're actually already making expenditures on the second part of phase 2 of A15. If you look kind of at trends here on the water fund, March, we're negative 423,000. June, we're negative 370, and the end of October, we're negative 290. That's good news. That's good news. In sewer, in our operating, we had $22,000 in March, 64 in June, and 87 in October, but that was before Todd needed the new jetter. So we might take one step back. In solid waste, it shows a cash balance there, but as you all know, solid waste owes a great deal of money still to the general fund. So at the very end of the year, if there's any money left in there, that goes to pay the general fund. Also, just to let you know, our landfill closure fund is around $730,000 right now. So when we finally get, hopefully soon, to closing the landfill, we should have almost 900,000. So hopefully we'll only have to borrow from the general fund $1 million. And I would like to, Phil was not on the council during GASB 54. You know, I have all my favorite GASB pronouncements. You all know that, 34, 45, 54. And that's where the policy, the Government Accounting Standards Board said, you need to set a policy for what your reserve is going to be. Fund balance that, isn't already earmarked for something. So not technically a reserve. And the policy that the city council has set in the general fund is a full year's expenditures. So if you look at the full year expenditure budget for this year, it's a little over 900,000. So that's the amount that you've said, we're going to be prudent and keep that, in reserve. And if it ever drops under that, you're going to make an effort to make sure it gets back to that. So just to remind you all, and to let Phil and Michelle know, because they weren't on the council during GASB 54. So the last thing is a cleanup kind of thing that I always ask you to do, and it really is mostly reimbursement things, but and this is something I would have had on the agenda a while ago. These are all decisions that were made by the council, but the dollar amounts, the decision was made to do something, but the dollar amounts weren't really there at the time. The election, last year, the special election, we did have to budget $5,000 additional for that election. The grant income and expenditures, that's just an in and out, but we have to show that as revenue recognized and the expenditure going out. We did receive $17,000 for the City Hall fire insurance reimbursement, once again, money coming in, and $22,000 in Baldwin Park expenses today, and most of that should be reimbursed. So we used $37,996.26 of the Woodbridge money to improve Gulling Street. I think there's a few thousand left in there, and then Todd's done. The Safe Route to Schools is a 100% federal reimbursed project, and during last year, around 172,000 was received and expended. The A15 project, 100% state reimbursed. We're very lucky to be able to participate in these 100% reimbursed projects. We did get another $5,000 in recycled grant revenue, and through some projects that Leslie and Todd worked on, they did expend the year before money and last year's money, so they did use that grant money. And then we had an additional $30,000 in landfill closure costs that were unanticipated. So this is
The cover?
yeah.
And there'll be more.
And there's more. I just signed a check today for more.
for the same thing.
What is the progress of the cover? I know it's not on the agenda, but
Well, we are still moving forward with the landfill closure project. Again, we have some issues that we're working with, and Tom's working on it, but we really do feel like we're gonna, by this summer, we'll probably be moving forward with that. And we really do, because that temporary cover that's on there is just that. It was put on there to be a temporary cover, and the longer it's on there, the more it's gonna rip and tear, and then we have to go in and spend this money to fix it. And we'd rather just permanently cover it than leave that temporary cover on there, so. It's a complicated project.
So unless you have any other questions, the other action that I would ask you for tonight is approval of these budget amendments.
I make a motion to approve these budget amounts.
I will second.
regularly moved and seconded to approve the budget amendments as indicated from Susan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Very concise report. And we will understand. Okay. Going on to item C on the agenda, vacancies in public offices. Review and consider the process to fill existing and upcoming vacancies on the Planning Commission, the City Treasurer, City Council, discussion and possible action. Leslie, you want to lead this?
Sure, so as we've been through this, we do have some vacancies. Michelle Vogt was elected as a member of the City Council, which left a vacancy on the Planning Commission, because she was on the Planning Commission. And Pam Gill has resigned from the Planning Commission. So there are now 2 vacancies on the Planning Commission. In the past, we've always just put an ad in the paper, put an ad on our website, to recruit people. At times, it's taken quite some time to find somebody interested in filling these seats. I was a little worried about the sign ordinance, because they've been working on that and thinking that would be pretty hard with 3 on the Planning Commission. But I understand, Michelle, that
It is
I
finished.
think they are happy with the things, and it will be coming to the City Council, so maybe that's not, that didn't happen until Monday night. So maybe that's not quite as important, but it really is, if they get to need some decisions made, to have more than 3 on there. So real important for you guys to get out and ask around and try to find some people that are interested in it. So in the past, I think we just put that ad in the paper and said they're open till filled. There was a point where we would put a deadline, but it never seemed to work. So whatever the council thinks we should do with that.
I just run it year round.
Just right here.
Well, we have quite a group of people here this evening. Hopefully some of those might want to consider taking a position on the Planning Commission or applying for a position on the other positions that are open. But we certainly would welcome anyone who has an interest in this to come forward and volunteer to serve.
And they do serve 2-year terms, so you're not committing for a whole.
We want to begin by doing the advertisement in the paper.
You can do that, yeah, put that in the paper again and see where we go. Just take letters of interest as we have in the past.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the website is up and running to the...
Well, the old one is still up,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
so.
We can put maybe some kind of a flashing thing on there to attract some attention.
I think word of mouth is pretty helpful.
Yeah, I think you have to kind of go up and down the street.
So then the city treasurer is the next one on the list. This is an elected office, not an appointed office like the planning commissioners. So the process for filling that seat is the same as filling a seat on the city council, which means we either need to have a special election or you need to appoint this to fill the seat within 60 days. The 60 days starts today. So the city treasurer seat must be filled by February 10th, which does give you some time. Again, take letters of, any kind of process one might think of to fill it would be fine.
What are the qualifications?
Yes.
To be a registered voter.
Live in the city.
Okay, well,
Not registered, a registered voter. You have to be qualified to run.
okay.
But,
Is there an age qualification? I'm not sure.
No,
Can't have one.
18 to be registered.
In the past few, just for information, everyone, in the past few years, Leslie's been serving as this, in this position also, because we didn't have anyone interested in running. No one ever ran for the office, so we appointed Leslie to serve the chief service for, well, it's supposed to be $1 a month or something, isn't it?
Well, there's been some, it was $100 a month that, and then you adopted a resolution that if the city clerk and the city treasurer were the same person, that it would only be $150 a month for both.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm not collecting either one of those because part of my contract, I waived that those elected stipends. Again, remember, if you do fill this seat by appointment, that person can only be removed from office either by not being qualified to serve anymore if they move out of town, or resign, or if they are recalled. So if you appoint somebody to now, they fill out till the next election. I am qualified to serve right this moment. So I don't know. Again, Steve and I saw this really funny. I got one of those city, when we were talking earlier about the city clerks in the state of California can email out questions to all the other city clerks. One came out about ceremonial city clerks, and I kind of said to Steve, is that what we have? And is that the same? Can we have a ceremonial treasurer? And Steve's like, that's not what it's called, because there's really not a term in the government code that says ceremonial. But I think that's what, there are plenty of little towns and even bigger cities that have these elected positions that just sit there and somebody fills some kind of ceremony as a ceremonial position. And, essentially Susan does.
Is there any job at all for the treasurer?
Well, there are some government code signatures, there are some things that the city treasurer
Mostly
says
bonds.
sign, yeah, it's bonds and
There's
stuff.
really not much.
It's not like they do the payroll.
No.
That's not what they do.
And somebody can delegate those duties to somebody else.
Which is how it's always been.
You know.
Okay, well, I would recommend, first of all, that we don't even consider an election, but, yes, yeah.
How much was the annual salary going to be on that treasurer job?
$100 a month,
It's $100 a month.
Okay.
that's $1,200.
I would recommend that we go the route of appointment and not have the expenditure of an election.
So, I mean, the question is, do you want to, again, do some kind of an advertisement? Do you,
No, I think we'd have to, if we're going to do an appointment, we'd have to.
Yeah, I would like to
at least
see
make it
letters of
public.
interest.
And if we get no responses, then we may want to consider just combining it with the city clerk again.
I don't think she wants that.
so, it'll be one big ad.
One big ad, looking for people.
Okay, moving forward. As I guess we all know, because it was in the paper today, Councilmember McBride has informed us that he's going to resign from his position on the city council on December 31st. You could have a discussion tonight again about how you would like to fill that seat. We're back to the same thing. We can have a special election. We can fill by appointment. You would need to fill that appointed seat if you want in 60 days, which for that position, since it's not till December 31st, would be you have till March 1st. So again, you don't have to do anything. If you
How much would a special election cost, Leslie?
the last, yeah, well, that wasn't staff time.
Yeah, no, that's just the
Yeah,
election.
I mean, I think you're probably talking $8,000 really, although a lot of that is staff time. I don't have to say, that last election, that special election, was a lot of staff time. It's a lot of staff time.
Well, what I'd like to see is letters of interest, and then maybe a committee to go through the letters of interest, and maybe have a special meeting to discuss proceeding with that, and then appointing the qualifications, and get a little bit of public input.
Okay, I agree with you on that, Michelle, except I think it should be the full council instead of a committee.
Well, no, I think that the full council as well.
So put an ad in, we really can't put an ad in the paper until after everybody's on.
After the 31st.
Oh, okay, I'm asking the same.
Well, the council could decide how it wants to go, but to fill by appointment. You can't actually make an appointment until there's a vacancy. Could you, yeah, you could publish the ad and start to let folks know, but you really can't take any action on filling the appointment until after the 1st.
And so in January, we have meetings on the 9th and the 23rd, our regular meetings are the 9th and the 23rd. John, you're not going to be here on the 9th.
I'll be gone.
So on the 9th, you'd only have 3 council members. So we probably would, I wouldn't think you'd want to consider it then, or? So we could put ad in the paper like the 2nd and the 9th and have them have letters of interest by, anybody else? I mean, how long do you think? That's what I would like to know, so.
When's the last day to appoint? You said March?
Oh, you have till March.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the question is, how soon do you want to try to get somebody to fill the seat? And if you're committee, can
Kim has a question.
It's kind of a comment, is that if we do not act at sending out and getting feedback from the community, you will wind up being kind of sticking yourself and being appointed, have to doing the appointing part. So I would think that this trying to go, reaching out to the public needs to happen first before you have to do the appointment. Right?
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
That's what we were just talking about. Is it the consensus of the council that we should go with the appointment process and not the
Yes.
election process? It just seems like it would be a waste of money to spend that kind of money for another election.
And you did just have an election.
Yeah, we just haven't done it, so, yeah. And so let's look at the appointment process and set up the process, advertising for it, accepting letters.
So would you like to have some kind of deadline if we put that in the paper? Do you want to go through January, give it longer time? Do you want to?
Make sure it gets in the paper on the 9th. Before the 9th. your first
Well, it could be on the 2nd.
Yeah, come on, yeah, the 2nd, you gotta get it in the paper on the 2nd. Tell her, get it in as soon as you can, so you get letters.
I think as much as putting an ad in there is making a full-on article in the newspapers as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that would.
Yeah, Carolyn, you could help.
I'll write something next week actually about this, so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, yeah, this whole it's good, you guys can put an ad in too, but I mean, this'll be an article.
On the other,
Already.
we're going to be putting in for the other 2 positions, that's going to be right away. Could we just put something like a coming after,
Yeah,
add something about
so the
city
question is, do you want to have some kind of a deadline? On the planning commissions, we always have said just, open until filled because it's been hard. We haven't gotten a lot of interest. So on the treasurer and the council member, you really have some firm deadlines where you have to get this done. So although with the council member, you have the whole month of February, you could still be thinking about the appointment. The treasurer was February 10th. Can you flip that calendar up, Phil, please? Hang on, we're going to have a calendar here. When are our February meetings? The 22nd.
My question is, if it's got to be filled by March 10th, there should be sometime in February where letters of intent should be given to the council, I would think.
Guys, so the treasurer needs to be appointed in January.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna try to consider an appointment for that on the 23rd, when would you like to have the deadline? I mean, so the 23rd, the agenda would be done on the 18th. When would you like to have the deadline to receive letters of interest for the treasurer?
16th.
That's Saturday.
They'll give you a date and have 2 days to
Okay,
get
and then do you want to try to do the council member at the same time? See if you can do it that quick?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can.
Why don't we answer that? And if we can't, we have more time on the council member.
Yeah.
If we don't. And then the committee idea was not what we were going to do?
No, I think if we're going, it should be the selection process needs to be within the entire council, I think, not the committee.
Well, I wanted to get
There
all
were
of
only 4 people left on the council.
Right, so, you know, I say council, but also get public input as
Yeah,
to,
oh,
I want to hear what the public has to say about who we choose, you know.
Well, at every meeting, the public gets.
Right, yeah.
I mean, if you had some letters of interest on the 23rd and you couldn't make a decision, you'd still be able to go to February. But the treasurer, you'd have to make a decision.
Right. So, meeting that we were discussing for February 9th, the all-day meeting, that, we might want to postpone that until we do have a full
Right, it
council,
would be really
because there's going to be a
yes,
lot of
that's
information
right.
that day.
So let's aim for that 23rd, January 23rd, and hope everything works out.
So there'd still be the,
No. Let's aim for trying to get these seats filled by the on the 23rd of January meeting. Okay. So the 16th of January will be the deadline to accept letters of interest for the treasurer and the.
You have to fill the treasurer's position by the 18th, right?
No, by the 10th of February.
Oh, by the 10th of February.
So that works. Okay.
That's good.
Does that work okay? I mean, I think if you're all consensus is.
Yeah, I think the consensus.
It sounds
Do we
like.
need a motion to do this, Steve?
You don't need to have a motion.
Okay.
I think you've got consensus on the process and the dates. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, I think we've got that.
So we're going to try and do the council on the 16th, provide the subsequent to January.
16th of January.
Yeah, we'll try.
That would be the deadline for
That
the
would be,
submittal of letters of interest.
and then you'll all have copies of the letters, you'll have a week before the council meeting to look at them and review them, and then talk about it at the council meeting.
You're going to have,
Well, I mean, it might depend, I mean, Steve just said, do you want to have interviews? A lot's going to depend on how many letters you get. I mean,
Yeah, let's wait and see what we do.
I think you could.
well, if you plan on making an appointment on the 23rd, the only reason I bring it up is whether or not you want people to know that if they submit a letter of interest, they should plan on showing up.
Let's say that.
So maybe you can just put that as part of the notice.
Okay, yeah, I would say they should.
Yeah.
They're not interested. You would think they would show up.
Thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate the input, and I think we've got the process started where we're going to work with it. Item D on the agenda is the new mayors and council members academy, which is with the League of Cities, and I think that's in Sacramento. I think.
It is in Sacramento.
Yeah, so it's close by. And consider approval for attendance at this conference sponsored by the League of California Cities, discussion of possible action.
Well, as you know, in the last few years, we haven't budgeted for any travel for council members or really any staff, except a couple little things that we go to. And every year, though, the League of California Cities in January does do a new mayors and new council members, they call it the Academy in Sacramento. I think pretty much everybody, John and Juliana and Kurt have all been to it. So we look at this on a case-by-case basis, and it would be a budget amendment for this year if you decide to fund council members going. Since Bill was elected in April, he hasn't been through a January and been able to go. So I was thinking you should consider budgeting for 2 people to go to this, but it might be 3.
What is the date of the academy?
January Oh, no, we wouldn't know by
Yeah,
then.
it's
We
before
wouldn't know by
it's
then.
before the selection, yeah.
So, okay, it'll just be for 2.
Well, I think it's important that
If you can go.
new council members attend this. It really is, it's critical
So we-
information that you have to have, and the training is really good. And I've gone to it, and I know all the other members have gone, and it's the only place you can get the kind of training you need for the job that we're doing. So I think it's very important. So I would entertain a motion that we set budget for these members to attend.
So for 2, and maybe, can they both go?
Oh, yeah, we'll have to find out. Well, yeah, find out.
I mean, yeah, I've already taken the time.
Okay.
Pending.
It's real slow in
pending the
January,
vote
it'll
here.
hurt.
Okay. Is there an amount that we need to budget, or is it?
I have the
If you're not
staff
really
report,
sure.
it's a little bit of estimate, but about $14.85 a person, so times 2. I
Okay.
think about $3,000.
Can we
And
have-
that might be a little bit high, depends on
I'll make a
how.
motion then that we set aside amount of $3,000, not to exceed $3,000 for the 2 members to attend, the new mayors and members of the academy.
I'll second that motion.
And regularly moved and seconded. Is there any comment from the audience? Public? No, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Have a good time. Fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
And I would make your reservations tomorrow.
Okay, the last item on the agenda is the abatement again. We're revisiting this for the 3rd or 4th time, and you want to cover it?
Yeah,
Here
Leah's
comes
here,
Leah.
here.
Leah.
Yeah.
Have you printed out these pictures for anybody?
No, because it really isn't anything there.
So the abatement process for 201 Main, today was supposed to be the final deciding factor. I took these pictures this morning, if anybody wants one out of me. The hot tub has not been moved. I did send a letter, I did not send it certified, to Christian Villaferte, letting him know that he had till today to move this hot tub, or the abatement process by the city would continue. I've not heard from him at all. I'm assuming he got the letter because I didn't get it back. And as you can see, somebody has put up no trespassing signs just in the last couple of days. But, other than that, everything is done except for the hot tub. So it's going to be up to your decision whether we have the city come and move it and charge him for it, or again, carry this on for another month. We've been doing this for almost 6 months now, so.
Well, I've heard that this has been rectified this evening.
I put on the trespassing signs up the other day. But the problem has been just trying to get extra bodies. After I talked to Juliana the other day, who was going to let us use the trailer, but I stopped by and saw her, and he's willing to take and slide on his truck, bring it over to my house, and I'll put it inside.
And you have that scheduled for tomorrow?
No, he's going to work out when he's got free time.
When he has to.
And then when he has that, then I'll touch base with him.
When do you think that's gonna happen?
It'll be within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, but we've gone on, what, 6 months now?
Pretty close.
And part of that, I know Larry's been
I
working.
put a deadline on it at the end of the week.
Can we do that?
Well, let's put it
Because
this
if it
way.
doesn't work with
We
Ernie,
went out with
I can
Kurt
provide-
volunteering to do it, and then I got out there and he wasn't able to do it. The dump wasn't going to be open as predicted, so I just went to all alternative methods. And then, like I said, yesterday I went out and got another person that can do it. I messed up for 2 weeks because I want to let it fit into his schedule. But he's got to do when he's got free time. I don't want to take away from his spot.
Why don't we just get this over and let the city pay it, Larry?
Because I don't want to charge Chris. That's why I've been this whole thing freebie.
And part of this was that I had agreed with Larry, so I'll take part of the blame. When I went out on my hip, it kind of like fell through the cracks. There was no one there. And we do have, if Ernie doesn't take care of it in the next week, we could do it for a week, then I'll go ahead and, I'm back in action again, and I'll get you a trailer in one
Okay,
drive.
between her and you, and
Yeah.
we'll get it out.
If we can give it that extra time.
It's entirely up to you guys.
And I still think it's better to take it to another, if you're gonna give them time to take it to another council meeting, because if something goes awry or something, staff's gonna want your decision, not theirs. Right now, you could have a weather issue one day, you could say, oh, we have to get it done by this week, but then there's a weather issue, and, I know it's been a long time, but, in the end, I'm gonna really want council decision if we're gonna spend city money to do this, so probably, I would wait till the 9th anyway, so.
So you want to just put it for give it the month, and then Larry, you and I will talk tomorrow.
I have to say, I never, ever dreamed that this property would be cleaned up by the property owner. I've been trying for 2.5 years to get this clean, so I have to thank Larry for his efforts in working with Christian to get it done. When this is completed, we will have 100% compliance this year on all the abatements that we've done.
Good.
Great.
So, and I've already got 2 or 3 to start next spring as soon as the weather thaws out, so.
Great job, Dorothea.
Has Chris helped at all with the cleanup, or is that all been?
Chris lives 2.5 hours away. He doesn't even have a vehicle that he can get here. And he's dealing with a wife that's been in critical condition for 3 years.
So
That's
it
why we're
was pretty
volunteering.
much 100%.
It's all cleaned up. The only thing that became an issue after he started it was the hot tub. And it's just something I can't really move by myself or get on my pickup. So this is why I asked additional help.
Right, no, I was just wondering how much of it you have done versus how much that Chris has done.
Chris hasn't
So
done
it's all
anything.
been-
Ernie and I have been
done
over.
100%.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and thank you so much for that.
Oh, I just want to have a city policy that we have a helping hand rather than just a badge and citation notebook.
Well, thank you.
I agree with the gentleman. I don't like our heavy badge attitude. I like when our council members step forward and go, okay, if we can get a hold of the person, you work with the people, it makes me feel like I'm in a safe and not a aggressive community that I need to move out of type thing. I'm in a safe, friendly neighborhood, you know?
Can I address that?
Ernie moved 3 vehicles.
I've always tried to work with people.
Smile with people and talk to them.
I absolutely try to work with people. I'll give people as much time as they need to do their cleanup. The problem is most people get upset, they won't approach me, they won't call me, so I end up having to go to the further steps. As I've said before, the first letter is always a courtesy letter, to let them know what we're trying to get accomplished. If you ignore the courtesy letter, then I have to go into step 3 and 4 and 5. So I don't want people to think that I'm this big bad bear that's in here trying to throw around my weight and be an enforcer. I want people to know I'm more than willing to work with you, and city council is as well. But you have to be willing to come and talk to me or call me, let me know your situation, which Christian has done, and that's why we've worked with him so well.
Thank you very much. In the 18 years I've been here, I think we've done abatement on 3 properties that the city's abated and lead property.
This is what the gentleman did. I took 4 trips to the dump. I took 8 trips to Reno with metal. Ernie took and removed 3 vehicles. It cost, I charged Christian just for the dump fees and out-of-pocket expense, which was $361. And this is a man that's trying to deal with medical costs in his family. This is where we come in with an image that, yes, this community cares about our residences. That's why I got more irritated with the neighbor. That seemed to be more the problem than the property itself. And I'm more concerned about vandalism than the abatement. When you have so many people that are living here as second home dwellings, they should be able to feel that their property is not going to be vandalized. That was my concern. We've got plywood over the doors that were broken into, the property was broken into and partying into, and the neighbors told me who did it. Yet nothing occurred. You know, like I said, I don't mind volunteering for somebody that's needy. I have a problem supporting somebody that's a vandal.
What's the pleasure of the council? And
That's another couple of, let it go a little longer.
Extended until the 9th.
That I need a motion.
You should take a motion.
I motion that we extend the abatement until the 9th of January.
Okay, Madam Regular, moved and seconded to extend this abatement to the 9th of January. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your work on this, and it's nice to be able to get it done. That's the main thing, you know, we're not trying to harass anybody, we just want to get some of the things cleaned up in the city that are eyesores for the neighbors, or anybody who wants to move in here and go on and see this. So that's the end of the agenda for today. So we'll entertain
Make a motion, we adjourn.
regularly moved and seconded to adjourn.